All right, let's jump right into the world of risk management. We're going to pull back the curtain on some powerful financial tools that businesses, big and small, use every single day to navigate the really unpredictable waters of the global economy.
So, to kick things off, let's start with a simple question. When you picture a big cereal company, what do you think their single biggest risk is?
Now, you might think it's, competition from other brands on the grocery store shelf, but the real unpredictable threat, it's the fluctuating price of their key ingredients, like sugar and wheat. And this isn't just a problem for cereal companies, it's a huge challenge for almost every business out there.
And this gets to a really crucial point. See, the cereal company wants to focus on making great cereal, but by the simple act of buying ingredients, they're forced to become speculators in the commodities market. They get to choose what they make, but they don't get to choose the risks that come along with it.
But what if there was a way to just opt out of that speculation? What if a company could neutralize that risk and just get back to doing what it does best? Well, it turns out there is, and it's called hedging.
And that brings us to the big idea here, hedging. The best way to think about it is like a financial seesaw. You're basically making a second bet that pays off if your main business takes a hit. The goal isn't to hit the jackpot, but to create stability, predictability.
Okay, so that's the theory. But how does this actually work in the real world? Well, let's look at the first tool in our hedging toolbox, the option. It's one of the most common ways companies protect themselves.
Let's take a real-world example. You've got Pemex, a huge oil company. Their business model is pretty straightforward, right? The higher the price of crude oil, the more money they make. So what's their biggest nightmare? A sudden crash in oil prices.
So to fight against that risk, Pemex can buy something called a put option. Just think of it like an insurance policy against falling prices. This little contract is specifically designed to become more valuable as the price of oil goes down. It's the perfect counterbalance. And that is the magic of hedging. You take their natural business risk, you add this put option, and suddenly the two forces cancel each other out. If oil prices tank, yeah, they lose money selling their oil, but they make money on the option. It all balances out. It's a perfect hedge against prices going down. Okay, so options are fantastic for putting a safety net under your business. But what if you don't just want a safety net? What if you want to get rid of the uncertainty completely? For that, we turn to our next powerful tool, the future.
A futures contract. And honestly, the name says it all. It's a rock-solid agreement to buy or sell something at a later date, but, and this is the key part, at a price that you agree on right now. It takes all the guesswork out of the equation.
The classic example here is a farmer. Imagine she plants her wheat in the spring, but she won't harvest and sell it until the fall. Her biggest worry, the thing that keeps her up at night, is that between now and then, the market price for wheat could just totally collapse. So what can she do? She can sell a wheat futures contract. This is basically her making a bet that the price of wheat will go down. So if her worst fear actually happens and the price does plummet, she'll make a profit on this contract that offsets the loss on her actual crop. And the result of all this? She's locked in her selling price months ahead of time. It literally doesn't matter if the market price for wheat soars or crashes. She knows exactly how much she's getting paid for her harvest. All that risk, it's just gone. Okay, this is super important, so let's be clear. What's the real difference between these two? With an option, you have the right to buy or sell, but you don't have to. It gives you flexibility. With a future, you are locked in. You have an obligation to follow through. It's a subtle difference, but it's a huge one.
All right, on to our final tool. Now this one's a little more abstract, I'll admit, but it is one of the most powerful and widely used instruments in all of finance, especially when you're talking about managing financial risk. Let's talk about swaps. And really, a swap is just what it sounds like. It's an agreement where two companies literally trade their financial obligations. One company has a stream of cash flows it doesn't want, the other has a different one it doesn't want, so they just swap.
So here's a perfect example. Let's say a company has a loan where the interest rate can bounce all over the place. That's called a floating rate loan, and it's risky. They can use an interest rate swap to turn that into a nice, steady, predictable fixed payment. See how it works here? No matter what the underlying interest rate does, the swap kicks in to make sure their total payment is always the same $5 million. They've swapped uncertainty for stability.
And you can do the exact same thing with currencies. Imagine a big global company. Maybe they can get a really cheap loan in US dollars, but what they actually need is Swiss francs to run their factory. No problem. They take out the cheap dollar loan and then use a currency swap to trade those dollar payments for the franc payments they really need. So all of this sounds amazing, right? These tools, which are all part of a family called derivatives, seem like a fantastic way for businesses to manage uncertainty. But that leads to a really big question. Are they a force for stability or something way more dangerous? And the debate here gets pretty heated. This famous question really gets to the heart of the fear that a lot of people have. Are these things really financial weapons of mass destruction? The worry is that they're not just used for hedging, but for wild, reckless betting that could bring down the whole system.
But then you have the other side of the coin. The argument there is that these tools are absolutely essential for a modern economy, and that the only real limit is our own imagination. I mean, there are even things called weather derivatives that a TV network could use to protect itself financially if the World Series gets rained out. You can design a derivative to hedge almost any risk you can think of.
So where does that leave us? What are these things, really? Are they helpful tools for farmers and cereal companies? Or are they dangerous weapons for speculators on Wall Street? What's their true nature?
The truth is, they're both. They're like a hammer. You can use it to build a house, or you can use it to smash a window. These are incredibly powerful tools. They can be used to manage risk and build a more stable economy, or they can be used for pure speculation that creates catastrophic risk. So the real question isn't whether the tools are good or bad, but how we choose to use them. What do you think?